Tag, very nice, very evil.
Yeah, that's tag shit.
Free fall as I die through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine. Mama, I don't really.
What up, Tag Nation? It's your boy, the commish, ScooterRay, and also the first ever Tag Technical Predictions Champion. Yes, as you can see in the image here, the championship that's in gold. That is that Tag Predictions Championship that was introduced, and I won it off of WrestleMania weekend. So yeah, it's our secondary championship that we have in tag now, and yep, I'm the first man to hold it, which means I am the first man to be both technical predictions champ and predictions champ. History maker, the history maker, ScooterRay. But we ain't talking about me. We're here to talk about the NXT after Stand and Deliver. And the show starts off with the women's tag team title match. Liv and Raquel are defending against the Misfits, as I call them until they get an official name. Of course, that being Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. Now, yes, if you didn't keep up with Raw, Liv and Raquel got the titles back after they had just lost them Sunday. Yeah, so that was a thing. But we had this match. Unfortunately, had it not been for the fact that Liv and Raquel just got the belts back, maybe. But Gigi and Tatum did put up a valiant effort. Ultimately, it led with I can't remember which lady it was, but Raquel hit the Chicana bomb, stood her up, Oblivion, 1, 2, 3. The champs retain. But the Misfits do have a knockouts tag title opportunity this Sunday. So I know it's a fatal four-way. I know it's them, the Meta Girls, Ash and Heather by Elegance, and I think Spitfire. I think those are the 4 teams. So, hey, could we finally get an NXT superstar to win a TNA championship? I don't know. But then after the match, we go back to the Lexus King and the Penn and Teller situation. And Stand and Deliver, Penn and Teller made Lexus King's Heritage Cup disappear. So they was like, well, fine. We'll bring your cup back when you acknowledge that magic is real and that you will defend the championship. Lexus King was like, fine, I'll do it. Just please bring the championship back. So they do it. And he was like, well, who's my opponent going to be? And it was like, you'll see when you get out there. To be continued. Then we get a segment of Ren and Miles of the NQCC. They was back there talking because they were showing clips of Tavion and Charlie Dempsey competing at Bloodsport over the weekend. And, you know, Ren and Miles was like, okay, good on them. And Dark State walks up and they was like, look, you ain't tough like your boy. So whatever you think you got going on, you might as well go ahead and stop it now. Otherwise, you know, we can take you out right now type of energy. Then it led to Miles with being like, well, hey, you know what I'm saying? We could do this. And then Javon walks up and was like, hey, I'll team up with Miles. You know what I'm saying? It'd be 2 of y'all, and then it'll be us 2 against 2 of y'all. So how about we just do that later? To be continued. Then we get it was supposed to be somewhat of a celebration of Ricky Saints, because he was supposed to come out there, talk about how, you know, he retained and Stand and Deliver. And, you know, he was getting his bars off, but 4 things got good. Lexus King comes out, and Lexus King was like, yeah, I'm supposed to have a match against somebody. And I'm still eyeing your North American Championship because of, the Fatal 4-Way and whatnot. And Saints was like, fam, you lost it, whatever. Excuse me. Sorry. So that prompted King to be like, well, how about this? Next week, we go title for cup. I'll defend my Heritage Cup. You defend that North American Championship, and let's do this. Saints was like, bet. King was like, bet. Bet. Now, the problem is, Saints still have to, King still has to go against his mystery opponent. So let's hope he can keep his end of the bargain. Then we get a segment. Soruka, Zarya, Thea Hale, Jada Parker, Hank and Tank, Fatal Influence, Kalani. It was all just like passing by things, but ultimately, from the kerfuffle of it all, it led to a match being booked between Fallon and Thea Hale. So yeah. Then we finally get Lexus King defending his against his Heritage Cup championship against the returning Supernova 11 Noam Dar, Mr. Heritage Cup himself. He is back from an 11-month hiatus. Remember, he was injured. I want to say one of his tendons was torn off the bone. So Mr. Dar has been gone for 11 months. And yeah, he pretty much got his Heritage Cup back. So now he is the 4-time holder of the Heritage Cup. And I want to say before tonight, Vic Joseph read off that his combined reigns was over 700 and something days. So he's Mr. Heritage Cup. And he dropped, they had a pretty okay back and forth because remember, King changed the rules. But he did hit King with a nasty spinning back elbow. Excuse me. Sorry. He hit King with a nasty spinning back elbow. And boom. 1, 2, 3. Like I said, it wasn't a squash match per se, 100%. But it was squash enough. But yeah, Noam Dar is your new Heritage Cup winner. So yeah, he can't hold up his bargain with Ricky since he lost the Heritage Cup now. So yeah, we get a segment of Roxanne Perez because Roxanne Perez is getting a NXT Women's Championship match, and she was like, "Look, yeah, I attacked Stephanie. Yeah, I know Julia attacked Stephanie. I guess we just had the same idea, but I want my belt. I want my belt back. That belt belongs to me. I'm trying to make history. I want the championship." But yeah, she is going to get her title match in the main event. Then we get the Fallon Henley Thea Hale match. More and more is leading up to the breakup of Fatal Influence because the closing moments of the match, JC accidentally pump kicks or big boots, one of the two. Fallon, Thea headbutts JC, then she takes out Jasmine, then she hits the finisher where she kind of does like the basically the slam into the Kimura. Fallon taps, that was it. So yeah, most likely we're gonna get a Fatal Influence breakup because even in that segment earlier, they was being snippy with each other. So it's about time for Fatal Influence to go ahead and hang it up. To me, the stable wasn't hidden when they first formed because it really just came off as Toxic Attraction 2.0. It didn't recapture the same magic. I understand the original stable, of course, being Mandy Rose, JC Jane, Gigi Dolan. Those three women just had magic. And I know they was trying to recreate it in essence with Fatal Influence, especially with Fallon kind of somewhat being a replacement Mandy, and then them having the newcomer of Jasmine Nix, but it to me, it never really hit from jump. It was cool that they was being used, but the faction never really hit from jump. But we're here. We're here. Then we get Big Oba coming out to talk about, how he reigned. He gave Javon Evans props. He gave Trick Williams some backhanded props, but he gave him some props. Then, of course, Trick Williams coming out. He's basically like, hey, I want the championship. You never fought me one-on-one, this, that, and the third. So this is the thing. I don't know if they're realizing this, but the way they have Trick Willie acting right now is not going over with the fans. I understand he's still a crowd favorite. They love to chant whoop that trick and everything. But when you have somebody as charismatic and kind of dominant as Oba's been, and then you just have Trick coming at week after week after week, I want the belt back. I want the belt back. I want the belt back. It's starting to make Trick, it's not putting him in the best of lights. It's almost like the Rhea Ripley situation at WrestleMania, how she lost, but then it was like, I still want to be at it. In essence, like they're treading some interesting waters with Trick Williams with this whole I want my belt back, I want my belt back, I want my belt back situation. But we'll see. But in the process of Trick Williams saying something, he said his name and he appeared. Yes, one TNA champion, Joe Hendry, did appear. And pretty much he said, Trick, you're not the same Trick Williams I tag team with. He said, frankly, you're acting like a little bitch. Yes, he said it. He said, you're acting like a little bitch. You're being whiny. You just this, that, and the third. Now, what was interesting was before things kind of broke down, Joe Hendry was like, hey, but I do want to talk to the champ. And then that's when Trick tried to get in the way. And Joe and Oba basically threw Trick out the ring. Like, get your ass out this ring. And pretty much that's how it ended. There was a segment later on that showed Trick kind of crashing out backstage, throwing stuff, and then Ava kicked him out the building. So we don't know yet. All I know is I know Joe Hendry is defending his championship Sunday, and I want to say it's against Kazarian and Ethan Page in a triple threat. So we'll see if Ethan Page remains champ. No, sorry, Joe Hendry remains champ. And we'll see if that leads to an eventual match, because the next pay-per-view is Battleground in a month. So we'll see if that leads to possibly a Obafemi Joe Hendry match. Maybe a title for title. I don't know, but we shall see. Then we get the segment following up with Stacks. He's out in the desert. He told Luca to meet him, and Luca was like, how could you betray the family? Tony D did all of this, blah, 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 blah. And then Stacks was like, Luca, look at where I brought you. And Luca was like, oh, and then the segment cuts, and it was like, what? What's going on? What's happening here? But hey, whatever. So we get a segment where they was interviewing Soul. Of course, Zarya was there. Soul was basically talking about how all the other women did a great job in the ladder match, but ultimately I became champ. And then Liv and Raquel walks up and was like, oh, Soul has 2 belts and Zarya has none. And that, how about Soul just give you one of her belts so you can feel included? And then they was talking about how, they weren't a tag team. And then they was like, Zaruka is fine. And if you keep on talking, I may add a 3rd belt. And it was like, oh, it's so cute that you think you can beat us. And it was like, let's get out of here. We've been hearing NXT too long. Let's leave this place. Let's ski and daddle. Then we finally get to the match. Javon Evans, Miles Bourne taking on Osiris Griffin and Dion Lennox of Dark State. Dion and Osiris as a duo, they have potential of taking out Hank and Tank. You could tell that they kind of poised Dion and Osiris to kind of be definitely the powerhouses, especially with Osiris. Actually, I can't say especially. Both of them, they can rival Hank and Tank as far as with the aggression and the power and the speed. So don't be surprised if they try to make Osiris and Dion the tag champions within Dark State. I'm just saying, just putting it out there. Now I don't know if they'll let Dark State compete on the Freebird rules, but I can see it. What was interesting was Tavion and Charlie was there. They was watching from the ramp, and then eventually Dark State gets the dub, and then they was kind of looking towards Miles like you should have called on us for tag team, or I don't know what it was, because we was led to believe that Tavion and Charlie wasn't there, especially since Ren and Miles were backstage by themselves. So I don't know, but like I said, Osiris and Dion gets the dub. They was kind of standing over Miles like, yeah, we won. And then of course it just their little graphics and stuff, and then it ends. And then you had Sean Spears talking to Ava, and then it led to Inamura coming in talking to Ava, and Inamura basically was saying that, yeah, my time is getting ready to come up to go back to Japan, to go back to Pro Wrestling Noah. And then he was faking that he was having breathing issues and how he was so sad. And then Ava was like, well, how about this? You and Briggs can go against Hank and Tank next week for the tag titles. And then Briggs walks in and was like, what did you do? And it was like, well, we got tag team champion. And then of course he hops up and he was like, ancient Japanese secret, like. So yes, next week Hank and Tank versus Briggs and Inamura for the tag team championships. Then we get a segment of Tony D and Rizzo, where Tony D goes to Rizzo's like hotel room and basically was like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what's happening. How could we get to this point to where y'all grew up together, y'all always had each other's back? How can Stacks betray you? And Tony D was basically like, there's no coming back from Stacks. And Rizzo was like, how can that be? Like, he was the man that taught me how to fight. Maybe there's something we can do. So they did show that next week there will be a sit down between Stacks and Tony D. And I guess we'll see what's going to happen from there. Then we get Saints was about to have an interview. Paige interrupts, but then King comes, attacks Saints, and was like, you cost me my Heritage Cup. And he's like, but don't worry, I'll see you next week for your North American Championship. And then of course, when King walks off, Paige is like, well, I guess we'll discuss our business later. Then before the main event, we do get a Chase U resurrection. Andre Chase was looking into a briefcase. He opens it up. It was the Chase U sweater he wore, and he goes, we're fucking back, baby. And that's how that segment ends. Main event, Stephanie Vaquer defending against Roxanne Perez. Pretty good match, pretty solid match. Of course, going in this, I saw no way that Perez was winning. I wouldn't be surprised if this was Perez's swan song, and that maybe Friday she may be debuting on the SmackDown roster, and that maybe they use Monday to propel us to this match tonight. But it would not surprise me that this would be her swan song in NXT, and that now she's probably going to be on SmackDown, or maybe they may circle her around and she'll be back on Raw. But yeah, still a pretty good match, pretty solid match. Roxanne was still showing everybody how she is that girl, and that she will forever be that girl in NXT. And don't y'all forget it, you know. But of course, Stephanie gets the dub. And as the show goes off the air, Julia comes out. She's staring her down in the ramp. And then they kind of pan the camera to where Jordan Grace is in the crowd. And she's staring down Stephanie as well. So, hey, Julia and Jordan are still have championship aspirations. So I guess we'll see what happens. But overall, I thought the episode was pretty good, pretty solid. It's good to see Noam Dar back after 11 months. Like the realization he was gone for 11 months. You know how much things has happened in NXT in 11 months? That realization that he was gone for 11 months was like, geez, it almost felt like a different NXT. The fact that he was gone so long, but he looks good. He looks healthy. Hey, he got his heritage cut back. I see they're starting to do more with Lexus King for him to get a North American Championship opportunity. I'm kind of interested to see where this whole Trick Williams, Joe Hendry, and Obafemi thing goes, because Trick just won't leave well enough alone. But overall, solid episode after Stand and Deliver. Because Stand and Deliver did deliver, and this episode delivered. And as far as next week goes, like I said, we get the sit down, the confrontation between Stacks and Tony D. We get Hank and Tank against Briggs and Inamura. We're also going to get Saints versus King for the North American Championship. And I do feel like there was one more match that was announced for next week. And I do not remember. But other than that, NXT as a whole, whether you loved it or hated it, don't forget to rate it, thumbs up, thumbs down, like, share, comment, subscribe. After you subscribe, make sure you tag that notification bell so you can be notified for NXT.A.G, hot tags, tag me in, wherever else get posted on this channel. Shout outs to the Tag family. Shout outs to my compatriots of Tag, Lip Dizzle, who is still your Tag prediction champion. Jaeger Bombastic, so fantastic, the heartthrob of the IWC. Shout outs to Juggernaut, aka the Juggernaut Show, and shout outs to Kicking It with Leo. Thank y'all for tuning in. Until next time, love one another, love yourself, take care of yourself, take care of one another, and do not forget, everybody, to tag out. I'm gonna hit y'all with this too sweet. Even though you can't see it, but just imagine in 3, 2, 1, bada 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 boom. Thank y'all and take it easy. Peace.